Who doesn't love choral singing? It's part of our human identity and has followed us around the globe as we've evolved into different societies and different traditions. I had a fascinating conversation with a student today whereby we tried to ascertain the major differences between American music and English choral music. And you might think, what an arduous thing to do. But in fact, it's really fascinating, and I hope you will enjoy this brief explanation of possibly why there's such big traditions. Okay, let's look at some numbers first. In the UK, there are around about 2.4 million people singing in choirs, we think, which equates to roughly 3% of the general population of the UK as a whole. In the States, there's 43 million people, which is around 13% of the population singing in choirs. Why is there such a big difference in practice and also sound? Well, I think it all comes down to jazz. In the States, obviously, we know there is a huge jazz tradition. It's where jazz came from, and that evolved out of, as we know, the blues and workers' songs. So what we see is really a bottom-up development of the art form, whereby people in society, in everyday society, were making songs. And I think the method that this was communicated was through reduced harmony, oral traditions, and also lead sheets. So lead sheets are an integral part of the American tradition. And although I can't speak for Americans, I can say that it's informed a lot of the developments that we see in the concert world today. If you take an example like Duke Ellington, who John Adams describes as the greatest American composer, we see a lot of pieces and songs of his that can be reduced down to chords and tunes, and is an integral part of the compositional process for people like Eric Whitacre, where you can reduce the music down to chords and tunes. You can do harmonic reductions of Sleep, and you can do harmonic reductions of O Magnum Mysterium by Morton Lauridsen. And even from composers like Aaron Copland, who's kind of sat in the middle, you still get a sense that this is music written from chords. In the UK, our tradition is much more regal, I guess. Most choral music started in the churches and in the courts, and so there was a heavy concentration around academic subjugation of the work. We see more of a line-based tradition where counterpoint was taught through the piling on of lines, and the resultant harmony was nothing more than a consequence of those lines. We see that in the Renaissance. We see it in, take a piece like Spem in Allium, the 40-part motet by Thomas Tallis. You can't really say that that's a bunch of chords, can you? You can say that, yeah, you can do a piano reduction and you would get some kind of chord-based understanding of the piece, but mainly it's lines on top of lines. So I think this could be a major difference. The two traditions have swung in both directions so rapidly in the last 50 years. Examples of that to back up what I'm saying is a piece like When David Heard by Eric Whitacre and a piece by me, Kemal Yusuf, called Psalm 91. So it's just food for thought, really. And I think that this moment in history where we are going to be witnessing a lot of new choral works coming out surrounding Queen Elizabeth's death and a lot of commissions coming out of that is, for composers, a really interesting time to be alive. I always like to ask myself whenever I'm in the middle of writing a piece, am I writing with line or am I writing with chords? Am I writing horizontally or am I writing vertically? And that tells me about the type of material that I can develop or work with when I'm in a piece. So it's interesting to see these as two sides of the choral coin, and perhaps can inform your own listening and analysis and also your own writing. Okay, a short one today, but I will see you next week.